is Sydney, and today I'm going to be doing another original tag. I created the Mamma Mia tag a while back and that was super fun, so I decided I'd do it again. I don't know if this tag already exists, but I came up with new questions if it does. So maybe this is the Decades Tag 2.0? I don't know. We're about to find out. Basically, each decade has a corresponding question, and then you get to pick out a book or multiple books that go with the question. Let's just get right into it. We're going to start off with the Roaring 20s. What book was the life of the party, or the book that you had just the absolute most fun reading? I have two answers for this because the obvious answer for me is going to be The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know this is a classic and does take place in the 20s. I'm trying to be a little crafty here, but I honestly really loved this book. I'm not a big sucker for classics. It's very hard. When I'm assigned to read something at school, it's very hard for me to actually get into the story. But this I really enjoyed. I loved the party scene in this book, even though it was a little wild and outrageous. Give it a chance, it's worth it. Another book that I really enjoy and that I had a lot of fun reading that I don't really mention in other tags is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I am a sucker for a good villain, and the fact that our villain was almost our hero was really fun for me to read about. I have not been able to read the Lunar Chronicles, I just never got into them, but I immediately fell for this book. It was wonderful. It was my last read of 2017. It was my first ever video on this channel. I made a book review about it, so if you want to go watch that, go check it out. Next we have the 30s, and that means the Great Depression. What book broke your heart? For me, that is going to have to be Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Wow. I pulled this book in one night, read it just flat out because the movie was coming, and oh my gosh, like the tears that flew off my eyeballs and down my face. I'm wounded, physically wounded by this book. It hurts my heart, and I remember just sobbing at the kitchen counter the next morning, and my mom laughed at me. She thought it was the funniest thing ever, and the next day she bought me the sequel to this, and I was just like, how can there be a sequel? Like, I'm not gonna read the sequel. How dare you? I might read the sequel, you never know. This is a fantastic book, but it's so sad, but it's touching and beautiful and thought-provoking. For the 40s, we have World War II. What book, in your opinion, had the best or cutest wartime romance? For me, that is going to have to be Warnette, which is Warner and Juliet from the Shatter Me series. Key phrase, up until ignite me. I read Restore Me, and I need to make a book talk on it. Their relationship was just so humorous and witty and cute. I don't have much else to say about it. It was perfect. I loved it. It was wonderful. There was so much tension, the good kind of tension. It came from a hate to love relationship, and that is just like my cup of tea. It's a really good book. It's a really good series. You will fly through these books if you are intimidated by large books. It's not that big. Pick it up. You can honestly stop after this book, which is the third book. For the 50s, we have the Cold War, and if you don't know about that in history, go pick up a textbook. Basically, the Cold War was between Soviet Russia and the US. It wasn't exactly a war. There were battles, yes, but it was all about like the nuclear tension, not knowing if the world was going to come under attack or what the deal was. So for the 50s, the book that you pick has to be a book that had a high level of tension and suspense. I had another book in mind at first because it was more YA, but I changed my mind because the first ever book that scared the heebie-jeebies out of me was The Shining by Stephen King. The hotel that this book is based off of is in Colorado, and I have family in Colorado. I'm actually about to take a trip to Colorado, and I will make a vlog about it. Maybe not a vlog, but maybe a travel video. I don't know. I want to make something for it. In the book, it's called The Overlook, but in real life, it is called The Stanley Hotel. We visited the Stanley, and I hadn't read the book yet, and I bought this book from the gift shop because, you know, it's pretty compact. It was pretty cheap, and I read it in my uncle's cabin late at night, all through the night, sitting against this long windowsill, and in the middle of reading one of the final suspenseful scenes, I was crunched up in a ball of nerves, just like shaking, and like my hands were trembling as I like read the page. My uncle's cat ran into the door of the room that I was reading in, and it scared the heck out of me. I almost screeched in the middle of the dead night, and then we went back to the Stanley Hotel the next day and did like the tour. I was so terrified. The 60s is Trippy Hippies. What book made you question if something was real or not? I really wanted to be like a total jerkwad and Raise Up Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins because of PETA's whole real or not real deal, but I'm not gonna reopen that wound. And instead, I'm going to say Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Yes, I know this is legendary. This is the sequel. It's not the same, but kudos to me because my boyfriend has my copy of Caraval right now, which means he might be reading it, which means I may manage to get one of my boyfriends into reading Jesus is Real. I have not read Legendary yet, so no spoilers, but the first book I remember questioning everything. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't read it, but it was wild. How everyone was tied together in some way, like how the game started, it was just a lot to take in. I couldn't guess the ending of this if I tried. I just had to brace myself for the worst. I'm so excited to read this book. It's on the TBR, but it's higher up on the TBR, so we'll get to it. For the 70s, we have Speaking Out, because around the 70s, things got more political and more views were being put out there. So the question for the 70s is, what book tackled a very sensitive or hard subject? For me, that's going to be a very underrated read, and that is The Program by Suzanne Young. I read this when I was in 7th or 8th grade. This book is about suicide. If teenagers lived in a place where if they started having suicidal thoughts or depression or sadness or negative thoughts that could endanger their lives, they would go to this place called The Program, where they would completely wipe their memories, make them a blank slate, and keep them alive. At this point, suicide is an epidemic, and millions of people are dying at their own hand, and they're trying to save the population. And it's about this couple that they're trying to hide from the program, and they have a friend that they're super worried about. It's a great book. It is pretty dark though, but it has a lot of books following it. I don't think it's appreciated enough and read enough. Suzanne Young is a wonderful author. She has another book, I think they changed the title of it, but it's called Hotel Ruby, and it's one of my favorite reads ever that does not get any attention that it deserves. So really, I say go check it out, or go check the author out every time I hold up a book, but I seriously mean that you need to go check Suzanne Young out because her books are phenomenal. Now we arrive to the 80s, which means life's pretty rad. What book or series made you jealous of a character's life? I will vividly express how A Court of Mist and Fury is my favorite book of all time, but in this case I'm going to have to say A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. I really tried to break out from the Sarah J Maas mold because I've been like trapped in her books. They're wonderful. And I really would say Akamath, but Akamath was still super hard. Like Akamath still had war going on, and not everything was fun, and brutality and all sorts of stuff. This book, however, was none of that. This book is basically Christmas and the holidays at the Night Court. That's it. It's just about their life, them coming together as family and friends, and it's pretty stinking adorable. So I was pretty jealous of the fact that they just got to sit back and relax and nothing really went wrong. We have finally arrived to the 90s, which means only 90s kids will understand. First of all, I was conceived in 1999. Technically, I was born in 2000, but I was technically conceived in 1999. So I do consider myself a 90s kid because I still get all the references. But only 90s kids will understand basically means pick a book or a fandom where the references and the inside jokes reign supreme and only people in the fandom will understand. Once more, I'm going to have to go with Sarah J Maas because I have to. I hold up Tower of Dawn because Tower of Dawn is underrated and you really should read it, even though people hate Chaol. Chaol is wonderful. You need to give him a chance. Like, stop hating on my baby Chaol. And now for some Throne of Glass references. If you have not completed the series, leave now. Gold. Metallic Gold, Buzzard, Fireheart, Bring My Body Back to the Cabin, I Wanted to Go to Parenth with You, The Beach, Phantom Hands, Rowan's Knee Banging Against the Table, Dorian is Elsa, My City is Made of Stone, But Your People Aren't, Kitty Friend, Velvet Wrapped Steel, Nameless is My Price, What Do You Mean Aelin is in an Iron Coffin, Where is My Wife? We have arrived at the 2000s, meaning, oh crap, the world is going downhill. Pick a contemporary novel that absolutely wrecked you and made you feel like the world was doing these characters wrong. For this one, Loud and Proud, Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book depressed me. So did Fault in Our Stars. Honestly, Fault in Our Stars did these characters so wrong. Looking for Alaska, however, was really rough because I had read Fault in Our Stars and I was like, wow, nothing can beat that. And this did for me. I like this so much better. Maybe as I've gotten older, this book has become more prominent in my enjoyment, even though it is very, very sad. John Green, you did me so dirty with this one. Oh my lord. I just think that, you know, it's so much like real life. Like, I believed that this plot could happen more so than Fault in Our Stars could happen. I think that under very, very certain circumstances, Fault in Our Stars could happen in real life. But this is just like, dare I say it, a run-of-the-mill coincidence. And it was still such a touching story even in that fact. It won a Pulitzer Prize for a reason, and that's all I have to say about that. And finally, for present day, what is your current read? And for me, to my dismay, it is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Yes, I was supposed to read this first because this is my summer reading and I have to film a video about it, but I decided to binge Warstorm first by Victoria Aveyard. Warstorm was fantastic. I loved it. I was so into it. And now I get to read this. Thank you guys so much for watching the Decades book tag. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so that I can make more videos for more people who are going to watch me. If you would like to partake in it, go ahead. I give you full permission. It was such a fun tag to film, and it's such a fun tag to do yourselves. Let me know if you agree or disagree on any of the books that I mentioned. I'd love to see your take on it. Once more, my name is Sydney. I make new videos every Thursday, and until next time, bye!